All right, here we go. Headed right into the final stretch of 2025, and it's just like I warned about last week. Prepare yourselves for some of the craziest, most depraved, and desperate Democrat behavior to close out the year. Starting off strong, of course, is, who else? Jazzy Jasmine Crockett, who never fails to disappoint by being highly disappointing each and every day. That party finds new and inventive ways to defend illegals, and even more so illegals who are also criminals. After the attack on those two National Guard members in Washington, D.C. last Wednesday, Democrats are doing everything in their power to redirect that anger and blame. Case in point, the lunatic. I'll just leave it at that, Jazzy Jasmine Crockett.
But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants. And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting two National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time. But now you want to go against every single immigrant. That doesn't make sense. And it's frankly not who we are, because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed.
Oh, I get it, Jazzy. It's Trump's fault because he put the National Guards people there to clean up crime, to help clean up crime. It's his fault, not the illegal, I don't even know if it was illegal, not the immigrant that came over under Joe Biden, unvetted, and then killed at least one, who knows, hopefully only one. No, don't point the finger at that murderer. Point a finger at Trump, you lunatic. Jasmine Crockett knows exactly what she's doing. Well, so do we. But you see, it's not just about deflecting and redirecting blame from Joe Biden and his clown posse for letting in so many unvetted Afghan nationals after the very disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Crockett, knowing that Christmas is now officially upon us, decides to bring in a little Christianity to really tug at those American heartstrings a bit.
I just want to be clear. This is the party that says that, they care so much about life until life actually shows up at their front door. And this is also the party that supposedly is about Christianity. And I just imagine what they would have done to a little baby Jesus. But that's a whole other issue. It is really so heartbreaking. We know that under the prior Trump administration, it was the children in cages. So for me, expecting them to do better by children was not one of the things that was on my bingo card.
So let me get this straight. You said, what would Trump do to little baby Jesus? Are you a lunatic? You're nuts. You guys are. Yeah, that's the best you can come up with. Instead of actually critiquing the source, instead of actually understanding and admitting that Joe Biden's policies put our country in serious, and even grave danger by letting in so many criminals and terrorists, the folks at CNN were quick to ignore all of that and jump to how America will and should react to the shootings of two National Guard members.
This is really the worst case scenario for every Afghan immigrant in this country. You know from covering immigrants and other marginalized communities that often when these episodes happen, folks kind of hold their breath, praying that it isn't someone who holds their identity, right? Because often there is this reflex to demonize entire communities.
Again, just by all means, provide cover for the shooter, the murderer, the assassins, because that's what they love to do. And just point the finger and blame at Trump and people who follow Trump and people who are America first, like us. So what was Don Lemon's reaction to what happened in our nation's capital last week? Well, you know Don Lemon, right? You remember Don Lemon from CNN days? Well, what was everything? It was either Trump's fault or racism.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
Carry a gun. It's legal. It's constitutional. We do. You can too. Just only use it for protecting yourself, not what a lot of people are using it for. Trans community, the trans Tifa folks, and this lunatic Afghan who wants to kill conservatives because they don't agree with what they have to say or they don't like Trump. So kill all conservatives, right? More year-end Democrat racism comes from none other than one of the seditionist six, Mark Kelly. Once again, instead of admitting that he He is the problem, and he's actually letting people into the country who actually hate America and Americans who want to do us harm. Kelly goes the racist route because it comes so naturally to Democrats.
When I heard the secretary say that they're going to pause immigration from third world countries, I mean, I take that as a message that they don't want brown people coming to the United States. And I find that disturbing. We are a country that has always welcomed individuals that are struggling, that are fleeing famine and violence. And it would be a fundamental change to the fabric of our nation to change that.
So that's called asylum, what you're talking about there, Mr. Kelly. But that's not what this was about. When Trump paused the asylum program, he did it because Biden let in tens of thousands of Afghans unvetted. He just let them in. They opened the door, let them in unvetted. So Trump said, hold on, let's go find out who these people are and where we are, and then we'll reopen it. And he's going to. It has nothing to do with all brown people can't come in anymore, you idiot. You said you read that as. That's your opinion. It's wrong, too, by the way. Almost as wrong as you telling military members to commit treason, lunatic. And in case there was ever, never any confusion as to whether or not Mark Kelly is confident in his treasonous ways, Mark continues to double down on being a seditionist intent on sending his country into a civil war.
People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is unlawful and something that is lawful. And if I was ever given an unlawful order, I would refuse. If you have time, you can certainly go to the judge, advocate generals, the lawyers, and have a discussion about it. If you don't have time, you just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time.
It puts a tremendous amount of burden on officers in the military, but that is their responsibility. And they can figure out, a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal.
No, you can't have everyone deciding what's legal and what's not. They're not lawyers. They're in the field. They're service members. They're not sergeants. They're not captains. They're the front line. They can't decide what's legal, what's not, what to execute, what order to execute, and which to push back against. That's treason. You can't have that in the military. I question Mark Kelly. Bo Bergdahl wrote in his diary he was against the war. Right? He walked off the base. We sent service member after service member, and at least one, maybe two, died searching for Bo Bergdahl, right? Now, I'm sure they didn't want to do that because Bergdahl walked off the base. And I'm sure they probably thought that would be unlawful for them to go find someone who walked off the base on his own, right? Where are you on that one, Mark Kelly? Where are you on? Because that was the one that Obama said that had to happen when he traded Bo Bergdahl, a traitor who walked off his own base, for 5 of the most dangerous terrorists in the history of the world. Remember when Obama did that one? Where are you on that one, Mark Kelly? Or are you just all about the politics? So the White House has launched a page that will highlight the biggest media fake news offender each week and every week, which is, of course, not only needed, but it's really kind of brilliant. I think they'll have trouble highlighting just one each week. To be honest, I think I saw 3 of them and then there's one. But here's CNN and Brian Stelter freaking out over it for obvious reasons.
So it's about targeting perceived liberals, perceived enemies, and as always, trying to attack the messenger. But here's what happens whenever the president or his aides go after a journalist or go after a news outlet. It makes people wonder what the fuss is about. So I think when the president insults reporters or when the White House goes and claims media outlets are biased, it might draw more attention, more curiosity about what the stories are about. It might actually draw more attention to the questions being asked. And that way people can make up their own minds about whether the stories are legitimate, whether the questions are fair. Look, the White House, like any other entity, it can go ahead and criticize the press. Criticism can be a good thing. But when I look at this particular media bias monitor, it seems mostly to be a way to delegitimize the press.
Yeah, because you're going to be on it all over the place. So on CNN, and so is MSNBC. In fact, I saw the first one, top of the list, right there, right at top, above CBS, even above the Wall Street Journal. The number one offender this week was the Washington Post. So yeah, they're going to call you out, and you don't like it, too freaking bad. Then get better at journalism. Aftyn Behn, who's running for a Tennessee House seat, continues to be in the hot seat for past comments about defunding the police, which she still refuses to refute, as well as comments she's made about hating the very city and constituents she's trying to represent, and she continues to do a pretty bad job at that. Watch.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
I know you said those comments were taken out of context, but I want to ask you about it because I'm wondering, do you think it was a mistake to say that?
Once again, I was a private citizen. Nashville is my home. Do I roll my eyes at the bachelorette parties and the pedal taverns that are blocking my access to my house? Yeah, every Nashvilleian does. But this race has always been about something bigger.
She hates country music. She wants to represent Nashville. What the heck is wrong with these people, these Democrats? It's like the guy, the lunatic, the attorney general of Virginia saying, I want to kill my opponents, and then he gets elected attorney general. It's insane what's going on. It's just insane what's happening, folks. The Democrats are a lost party. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.